Our guest today is a great friend. He's from Oak Lawn. He graduated from Brother Rice High School. Always have to mention it.
Barely, yes.
And the lead singer of REO Speedwagon. It's Kevin Cronin. It's great to see you.
Good to see you, Pete. Man, it's been a while. It seems like time is so skewed right now. It seems like I saw you yesterday, but it also seems like I haven't seen you in 10 years. I don't know what to believe anymore. I don't know what's going on.
You're a guy that's always on the road. How are you handling the pandemic, being at home with your kids?
This is the longest I've been at home, consecutively since basically in my entire adult life. I mean, I've been a touring musician since 1972. So this has, honestly, I kind of needed a little break. So this kind of, I wasn't expecting to be forced into taking a break, but that's probably the only way that I would take a break. But I've got my twin boys are both college students and they closed down the campus. So Josh and Shane moved home. My daughter Holly graduated a year and a half ago. She's home, working from home. So the five of us are all living together as adults, and it has been just like awesome. I mean, I feel more connected to my family than maybe ever, because we've all been here in this, with nowhere else to go, and
right.
we've been very conscious of our social distancing and of our, following the health protocols, and so we see a lot of one another. And it's been the joke around here is that my family is determined that during this pandemic they will turn me into a normal person. And they had no idea what they were getting themselves into when they decided to take that challenge. But I feel deep empathy and sadness for people whose families are being impacted
right.
By this pandemic, medically, financially, emotionally. There's so many people suffering all over our country, all over the world. My nature is to try to find the silver lining in things. And
right.
So I'm out of work, but I'm making the best of it.
You're right. People are sick. People are out of work. But the silver lining is we're spending time with our families and we're talking in person to our neighbors. I brought this up before, how we're walking outside of our house and talking to our neighbors and having a conversation.
I know, you're right, man. And our block is kind of a quiet block. There's not a whole lot of homes on it, but people actually come around here to walk. They walk their dogs, and I take a walk every day. And you're right. I mean, I'm spending more time with, talking across the street, of course. Of course, you see someone coming, it's like, all right, should I cross or should they cross? It's like, all right, she's got a baby carriage and a dog. Okay, I'll cross. It's like, so you're constantly, running back and forth across the street. But it has forced us to be more mindful of everything we do and everyone around us. Although I still, and I got masks all over the place. And yesterday I walked into the FedEx place. I had a sign, a bunch of these really cool, the Music Cares Foundation did a thing where they have an artist who they play a song, and the song kind of displays itself, through the computer and creates this colorful kind of waveform on a poster. Okay. And they asked that and so they chose "Keep on Loving You," and "Keep on Loving You" showed up in this beautiful, colorful waveform. They asked me to handwrite the lyrics, and then they put the lyrics on the poster, and and lithographed like 40 or 50 of them for me to sign and
Wow.
send back to be auctioned off to benefit the thousands of people in the touring music world that are out of work, the crew guys,
Sure.
the truck drivers, the bus drivers. And
Right.
I was dropping them off at FedEx Place, walked right in with no mask. And I walk in, I'm like, oh crap, and I'm carrying these boxes, and I, set them down, go get the mask and come back. So it's teaching us mindfulness, which is a good thing. And it's teaching us cleanliness. I mean, it's not like COVID-19 is the only virus out there. There's viruses all over the place that we just,
Right. Yep.
we're playing Russian roulette with all the time. And now it's like, okay, yeah, it makes sense to wash your hands, 10 times a day if you have
And
to.
wash them the right way. Yeah.
Wash them the right way, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Here's my question for you. Are you writing music during this? How are you filling your time?
well, I'm still working on my my book. I'm approaching the 4-year mark, and
For a guy that writes all the time, you should have banged this out.
man, it finally occurred to me that books are actually a lot longer than songs.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
they're, and at the same time, I enjoy the process. Writing is, what I do, but it's also what I love to do. So I've been working steadily in the book. It's almost finished.
I want to talk to you about a few songs. Roll with the Changes. I read, and I want you to confirm this. I'm catching up with all the things that I forgot to ask you over the years. Roll with the Changes. Did you write that song when you left Chicago driving to LA? Is that true?
That's true. I didn't want to leave Chicago. I never expected to leave Chicago. I was locked into the Chicago music scene. I was playing the clubs on Lincoln Avenue, Orphans, and the Bulls. I used to play at the Earl of Old Town and the Quiet Night on Wells Street.
Right.
I was just, we were talking about Jim Peterick earlier. Jim and I, Jim Fairs from the Crying Shames used to be part of that scene. There was just a whole group of us that were kind of, working our way through the clubs together. And I love Chicago, man. It's where I was born and raised. I drove a taxi in Chicago. I used to know every shortcut, every alleyway.
That's the best.
It's the best. It's the greatest city in the world.
Right.
But while I was out of the band for a couple of years there, they moved to LA. And so when I rejoined, I kind of had no choice. But I didn't want to just have my things, have someone put them on a truck and send them out there and me just fly. So I decided to pack up a U-Haul trailer, hooked it to the back of my blue Ford Pinto station wagon.
Oh, you did not have a blue Pinto.
I had a blue Pinto, hatchback, baby, all the way.
Boy. Oh,
yeah.
Man.
But I was between Denver and Albuquerque. I stopped at a truck stop and picked up some junk, and as I was driving along, I started just singing. Here, hang on. So I start singing, keep on rolling, keep on rolling. So now I'm driving along. I got a U-Haul trailer behind me. I'm steering with my knees. I find a Sharpie in the glove compartment. I've got a brown paper bag. I'm scribbling the lyrics down, trying to watch the road with this U-Haul trailer, jackknifing, behind me. And finally, for the sake of highway safety and good penmanship, I pulled off the side of the road, and that's where I wrote the song. You want me to play a little bit for you?
Absolutely.
Soon as you are able, woman, I am willing to make the break that we are on the brink of. My cup is on the table, my love is feeling. I'm just waiting here for you to take and drink of. But if you're tired of the same old story, ooh, baby, turn some pages. changes. Oh yeah, you gotta keep on rolling, keep on rolling. Roll the changes. I knew it had to happen. Felt the tables turning. You got me through my darkest hour. I heard the thunder clapping, felt the desert burning. Until you poured on me like a sweet sun shower. But if you're tired of the same old story, ooh, baby, turn some pages. I'll be here when you are ready. Roll with the changes, baby. Roll with the changes. Oh, you got to keep on rolling, keep on rolling. Gotta roll with the changes. Keep on rolling, keep on rolling. You got to roll with the changes. Keep on rolling, keep on rolling. You got to learn to roll with the changes. Keep on rolling, keep on rolling. Got to keep on rolling with the changes.
Yeah! You
Well,
graduated what, 1968 from high school from Brother Rice?
I graduated from Rice in '69, class of
69.
'69, and yeah, it was quite. I mean, being in an all boys high school back in the late '60s, it was a trip because the '68 Democratic Convention happened in Chicago. A friend of mine who I graduated with, his older brother was a member of SDS and the Weathermen, and they were pretty active during the Democratic Convention, and all of a sudden there were guys were growing their hair long, and I remember a bunch of us taking in Oak Lawn, the CTA didn't make it out to Oak Lawn, so we had to hitchhike to the L station, then take the L and get off at Wells Street to go out and look at hippies. It was like going to the zoo, like,
wow,
look, there's a guy with long hair, wow. But the Beatles had come out, and I had been taking guitar lessons for a while, so I started kind of feeling like it was kind of cool what was going on,
You wanted to grow out your hair. Hold on a second. Can I show you something? I'm glad you brought that up. Do you see these pictures?
Yes.
What's going on here? What year is this with the big fro?
Yeah, that fro that's early '80s. That was I had toned it down a bit by that time. It was I had hair down my back in the late '70s. But yeah.
Look at that right there. That's good stuff, man.
It eventually the fro would actually morph into what has been called a mull fro. So when I started getting kind of sick of having long hair all the time, I started little by little kind of getting it cut so that it kind of got short around the sides, but it was still, so it was a mullet, but it was too curly to be a mullet, so it was a mull fro. That's what, and here we are today. I don't know what you call this. This is
that is so funny. All right, I want to ask you about Time for Me to Fly. Who's the girl?
Well, I tell you what, the girl was my first love, and her name was Susie.
Okay.
And are you ready for this? This is bizarre, but I get a call comes into our office maybe a couple of years ago from one of those like forensic files, kind of those unsolved mystery TV shows, wanting to talk to me about Susie, and I'll keep it Susie L, right? And because the truth was, one of the last known sightings of her was in 1985 at a party at my house in Encino. We had a huge blowout party after the Wheels Are Turning tour. Susie and my ex-wife had been friends for years. So she lived in LA at the time. So she came to the party. And I saw her and said hello. Supposedly that was the last time she has been seen alive on the radar screen of law enforcement. Was because her father, who was very wealthy, passed away. She was the only living heir, and she didn't show up for the reading of the will, where she would have inherited like a ton of money. So when that happens, you know, the police are like, wait a minute, that's a red flag. Why would so?
Right.
Yeah. So I tell the whole story in the book, or I don't know, maybe I didn't, maybe I cut it out. But
put it in the book.
Yeah. Yeah, Susie was my first love, and
well, where is she? Is she still missing?
She's still missing.
Wow.
She's missing in action. No one has found her. She's gone, and there are millions of dollars sitting somewhere in Chicago. All she has to do is show up and claim it. It's a weird story. So, I mean, my fear is that she either encountered some foul play, or I don't know. I don't know what happened.
What year did you date? Paint a picture for me in Chicago. What year was it?
We dated in high school. She was my high school girlfriend. And we dated for about 3 years. Then when I went away to college, we broke up. But of course, you know, I would kind of come back to the old neighborhood and dabble a little bit here and there, so to speak. And she was just a gorgeous young girl, and she just Irish lass, you know, rosy cheeks, red hair, beautiful breasts, and just this. She was just she was my first girlfriend. I was enamored with her.
I make you laugh, you make me cry. I believe it's time for me to fly. So she was, towards the end, she wasn't into you. Is that when you wrote the song?
Well, no, it was more like, I wrote the song. I took a road trip to Boulder, Colorado, and to visit a high school buddy who was going to University of Colorado, and kind of put some distance between Susie and me. And there was a guitar sitting on his porch, and I picked it up, and it was in a, so I pick up the guitar, and let's see, and I go to play it. So I go to play a chord, and it sounds like this. And I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, what the hell? So I'd seen the Woodstock movie where Richie Havens plays that song that he made up on the spot, Freedom, you know, and he kind of wraps his thumb around the guitar and plays chords. So I tried that on the guitar, and sure enough, that worked. And wrote Time for Me to Fly on the spot right there. I don't think this is the right tuning. Let me see. No, I don't at the moment have a guitar in that tuning, but I can play it without that tuning. It'd be nice if I had a guitar that was in tune. I prepare for everything.
Well, you've been busy during the pandemic, you know, eating.
I've been around for you, been up and down for you, but I just can't get any relief. Swallow my pride for you, lived and lied for you. You still make me feel like a thief. Got me stealing your love away, 'cause you never give it. Hidden wheels away, and we can't relive it. Well, I make you laugh, you make me cry. And that's as far as I got in Boulder. I swear to God, that's as far as I got. I thought that was it. And about 5 years later, I got,
5 years went by?
yeah, but well, let's see, that was 70. Yeah, it was 70, and it was about 7. That was more like 7 years, and then I you know, because us songwriters, we have spare parts, spare song parts that are rattling around in our brains all the
Right.
time. So what I just played you, that bit was just kind of a spare part. I couldn't finish it. And I got back to Chicago, and I think I was living up on Marine Drive, 5100 Marine Drive. I had a little studio apartment there.
Yep.
It was a great place. You know, I could see the skyline and the shoreline of Lake Michigan and the
Right on
Prudential
Lakeshore
Building,
Drive.
you know. And I was like, I'll make you laugh, you make me cry. And then I just went, I believe it's time for me to fly. It's time for me to fly. Oh, I've got to set myself free. Oh, baby, that's just how it's got to be. I know it hurts to say goodbye, but it's time for me to fly. It's time for me to fly.
That
And I
is
finished
just
it up,
awesome.
and
Awesome.
yeah, it's a
Wow.
trip. And all these songs have a Chicago component to them, you know. And that song, I'll never forget it, because I went down and recorded the demo with the late, great Gary Loizo, another Chicago guy. He was the lead singer for the American Breed, you know. Bend me, shape me, and away.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
As long as you love me, it's all right. That was
Right.
Gary. And he was literally my first rock and roll hero, because my next door neighbor in Oak Lawn played the accordion. And he used to leave his bedroom window open all summer so everyone in the neighborhood could hear his accordion playing. And so
Wow.
I talked to him one day, and he told me, he goes, man, I just started taking guitar lessons. And he's like, you know, you should come to our accordion recital, because there's a rock band that plays at the end. The guy who plays guitar in the accordion orchestra has a rock band. And I went down, and they were called Gary and the Nightlights at the time. And that was Gary Loizo. And years later, he would become my first producer. He would go on to produce all of Styx's hits, and he was Styx's front of house guy on tour for all the REO Styx tours that have happened over the years. And
Wow.
Gary was a South Side guy, and just you know, kind of my mentor for years and years. And he passed away about, I guess it's been 2 or 3 years now. And you know, he was just extremely talented, just a great dude, and we all miss him.
Great to see you. You look fantastic. You really do.
You do too, but you haven't changed since you know, since the first time we met. It's you've been a great friend of me, and a great friend of REO Speedwagon. And I know you're originally a Peoria boy, so you've got the Gary Richrath connection, of course. And it's, you know, us Chicago guys, us Midwestern boys, we got to stick together. And I really do appreciate the fact that you have been, you know, like I say, a staunch supporter and a loyal friend. And we will do this again soon.
Well, I love your music. And once I got to meet you, I think I love you. Can I say that? I love you.
Hey, no one else is watching, so, you know, it can be our little secret.
Can you give me one more song before we go?
Yeah. We usually leave the crowd with the first song that REO Speedwagon ever kind of made a dent with. This also goes back to Boulder, Colorado, to a hike that Richrath and I took up in Rocky Mountain National Park, which is actually probably 20 or 30 miles south of Boulder. But as the song says, the weather can change real quick in Colorado, and it was our first time there, so we didn't know. It was sunny when the hike started, but clouds started coming in, and the wind whipped up. Temperature dropped about 30 degrees. But when we came home, we had a song. Riding the storm out, wait for the fallout, on a full moon night in the Rocky Mountain winter. Wine bottles low, I'm just watching for the snow, thinking about what I've been missing in the city. And I'm not missing a thing, I'm just watching the full moon crossing the rain. Riding the storm out, riding the storm out, riding the storm out, riding the storm out. Well, there's a lady beside me, she's there to guide me. She says they're alone, we finally found our home. Well, the wind outside is frightening, but it's kind of heavy lightning like in the city. It's a hard life to live, but it gives back what you give. And I'm not missing a thing, I'm just watching the full moon crossing the range. Riding the storm out, riding the storm out, riding the storm out. I'm riding, gonna keep on riding. Baby, I'll be riding the storm out.
Yeah, baby.
Gary Ridtrath, man. The late, great Gary Ridtrath. I miss him. Yeah. That song was such a connection between Gary and I. Because Gary wrote it, but our relationship was such that he would write a song and it would be really raw. And Gary was never a singer. And so he would kind of bring it in and we would hash it out together, and I would kind of, maybe you could say, polish it up a little bit and work on the melody with him. And we had just a great trust and a great working relationship back in those days. And yeah, he was a unique, one-of-a-kind individual guitarist.
Yep.
You know, the other week I was, Sammy Hagar called and invited me to do this gig that he came up with this idea to set up a stage on Catalina Island facing out toward the harbor.
Yep.
And he called Rick Springfield and I to come down and meet him and his band, which is Jason Bonham on drums, forget about it, and Michael Anthony on bass. So, because Sam's and my birthdays are a week apart, and so we celebrate our birthdays together in Cabo sometimes, and of course we couldn't do that this year. So, and my wife Lisa and I, we get in the car, we're driving down to catch the boat to Catalina to meet Sammy and Michael down there, and we're driving through the Cahunga Pass, listening to Eddie Trunk, and the word comes out that Eddie Van Halen has passed away.
Yeah, we were all shocked.
We were all shocked. And of course, I know the feeling of having the world mourning the loss of an iconic guitarist. So you understand that on that level. But back when Gary passed away, I'm just, devastated by the loss of a great friend and bandmate. And here I am, I'm on my way down to meet Sammy and Michael Anthony, So I know how they felt, it's, of course you're you know, you've lost a great guitar player, one of the best guitar players ever. But for those guys, they lost their friend, their bandmate.
Right.
And I was glad to hear from Sammy that he and Eddie had made peace over the past couple of years, and
Yep.
we're on at a good place in their relationship. And thankfully, Gary and I had that experience too, so that, you know, because that would be really bad if there was a lack of closure, you know, on a personal level. But yeah, it was, yeah.
Kev, thanks for taking time. Man, it's great to see you. Have a great holiday. God bless you and your family. And hopefully we'll be sitting in the same room very, very soon.
Same to you, Pete, and my love to all the people in Chicago. And, you know, we'll be back.
Love it. Kevin Cronin, everybody.
All right, bro. See you later. Thanks, Pete.